So this is a video just demoing one of the bots I've made for my game. So you can see on the minimap just here, brown represents wood and grey represents stone. Both at some point we need to go after. So if we get started, we can see that it does go with Fog of War, so you can't see the entire map, you can only see the squares that aren't black. Right as we start, we see up in the top right, these are his goals that he's working towards, and an indentation represents a sub-goal. So I'm using the same system in programming game AI by example. We use the composite pattern, so a goal can either be an atomic goal or a composite goal consisting of other sub-goals. So for this individual bot I've made, the goals are somewhat hard-coded in the sense of the order that they're going through. So they can be sort of viewed as tasks, more so than goals that are evaluated with some sort of criteria. But they're also stored in a stack, so although those are overall goals, if new conditions present themselves, then they can be interrupted, and then he can keep track of what he was doing before that happened. So the first goal that came through was to go and find some wood. So now that he's found wood, he's going to build a little town center here and start building other worker units out of it. And then he's going to go off to try and find some stone, because that's the other resource we want. So I'm using a combination of this goal architecture here as well as a message-based system. So you see as soon as that worker finished, another one started being built immediately. So whenever a production building, in this case a town hall, finishes building something, it sends a message to the world saying, hey, my job's done, and then the world will send it through to the bot as well. So you can define what you want to happen when those messages get sent. So in this case, when a worker finishes being built, the bot just builds another one immediately. This guy is currently doing a goal find resource, which basically just makes him move along the map randomly using a coarse grid until he finds what he's looking for, in this case being stone. So now that he's found it, which we can't actually see because the camera's a bit down, you notice a whole bunch of goals have just popped up. So the goal comes under the main goal of build track network. And each of these construct building goals is to build an individual track. So the way it's done that is it's just run a path from the town center down to where it found the stone, and it'll build a track on every cell between that. Also notice that we have houses being built here, makes no use of the supply. So another message that gets sent through to the bot is every time its supply changes, which is essentially every time a unit dies or every time a unit is built. And there's a condition that basically says if I have so much spare supply or less, go and build another house. And it decides where to build that house using the influence map, which will show up later in the video. So here we can see it's just going through building the track. Normally he'll have to wait longer to get the actual resources for it, but I've lowered the costs just for the purposes of the demo video. So when he gets to the end of the track, he's going to build something called a deposit box, which can store resources, and the idea is that you can have a minecart run along the track that moves really, really quickly, that can run the resources back between the base and the deposit box. So now that he's finished with building that track, the next step is to build a perimeter around his base, which we're going to use the influence map for, so this is the visualization of that. The numbers obviously represent the influence value, which we can see where buildings start, it's higher, and they slowly propagate outwards. And the white line represents the border, or the layer just before influence reaches 0, and that represents the perimeter of our base, and that's where our worker is going to choose to build all of his buildings.